What experience have you guys had with red light therapy, or you're even like near infrared therapy? You guys been around this at all?
Yeah. Cece, do you want to lead it off?
I think my first experience with red light therapy was back in 2010-ish. My dog had a cyst on his paw. We had him, we took him to the vet, and then the vet said, we think it's precancerous. And so, you could either have him go through radiation for however many weeks and going there every week for however many weeks, or we can amputate. And he was older, but he still had a lot of life in him. So we thought, well, quality of life. And anyway, it was a really hard decision. We ended up having his leg amputated, and part of the healing process was red light therapy. And that was to help with decreasing inflammation, bringing nutrients and blood flow to the area to help with the healing process. Mm-hmm. And so that was my first experience with red light therapy.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I actually worked for a short time in like a wellness center type of place that had infrared saunas, and I used it myself. I was actually a client there before I was working there for a brief period of time. And yeah, you would step into this dry sauna, and there was the red light attachment on the door, very bright red light. As an employee there, I had to explain it to people as well, but you sit in there. The light hits you. It's supposed to be really good for your skin, good for, of course, detoxing and decreasing blood pressure, improving not only the collagen production in your skin, but the growth in your hair as well. It was supposed to have all kinds of anti-inflammatory. So it was supposed to have a number of different benefits. Each color of the wavelength or of the spectrum was supposed to correspond to different benefits. More recently, personally, each night my girlfriend puts on this like Tony Stark Iron Man mask,
like right on her face,
and it directly on her face, and presses the button, and it's like battery powered or whatever, and it pumps red light directly onto her skin because she's trying to look even more beautiful, as if that was even possible.
So nice of you.
So how long does she wear it?
Like 3 minutes.
And how long has she had it?
Now, maybe a couple of months.
Okay.
Maybe a couple of months. And yeah, she likes it. I think she says it's also relaxing as well. It also kind of like helps her. It's part of her ritual, nighttime routine.
And did you say she does it every night?
Every night.
Yeah.
So interesting. Like, I have my own experiences with what I'm about to talk about, but I'm sure there's people listening to this going, what the fuck? What are we even talking about?
It's a thing.
Californians.
We're going to talk about this. Like, we're going to talk about this, but people are going, this sounds so hokey. But here's been my experience. One was very similar to yours, and that is going into like more of I'm not going to call it a wellness center. I'm going to call it more of like it was like estheticians, but there was like, they did some like teeth whitening in there. There was a tanning salon in there. They had, some massage therapists in there or whatever. It was kind of one of these type of joints. And they had some red light therapy in there. And it was for exactly the same things you just said. This is where people were going in there because of the, specifically for their skin and anti-aging effects. And so I thought that was very interesting. And I looked at it, I go, what the fuck? Like, you're charging people to stand in front of red lights. This is okay. This was probably 10 years ago. And I just never got behind it. I was like, okay, that's weird. But these people are coming in, they're paying the premier holy shit version for the membership, which gives them tanning and teeth whitening and massages and Botox and all that other stuff. That's just not me anyway. So I think I just kind of wrapped it up in my discounting it. It's like, it's just another crazy thing people are doing, like cold wrapping and shit like that.
And it's not just a red light bulb.
Yeah, it's right. It's not just a red light. You can't just paint your your halogen bulb in your lamp red and expect the same benefits.
Yeah, keep your bedroom activities to yourself.
So, but my other experience with this was later, and that was in a clinic with some highly trained operators that were one specifically who had a shoulder injury, and it kind of looked like a scene from Star Wars. And just thinking back, like I feel like there may have been a scene from like maybe like Empire Strikes Back or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's when Luke's getting his arm, his biomechanical arm, or he's in the thing. I don't know. And For you Star Wars nerds out there, I could be totally wrong about this, but I feel like I remember them using some type of red light therapy on him. But they had a contraption on him, and they were doing some very focused red light therapy on this guy for his shoulder to help him get better. And it was about tissue rejuvenation and its anti-inflammatory effects or impacts, and cell regeneration, or let's just say cellular health within that particular area for the recovery process. And I thought that was very interesting. And it was explained to me very quickly kind of what was going on at the time. And it was that point I was like, okay, this is stepping out of the aesthetics, the beauty / wellness space, and more into, it was, I was exposed to it in a little bit different space. So again, people might be listening to this going, what in the hell? Like, but there's other people out there that have heard about this, may be curious, and there's other people that have really dug into this and know about the benefits of red light therapy. So I want to talk through some of these things because, again, it sounds really hokey. And for me, I got to be honest. Like, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, this is just one more way to take money from people. But the reality of it is, there is a ton of science behind this.
There sure is.
Tons of science behind it.
And it's been around for centuries. Long
time. Like, light therapy in general has been around for a very, very long time. So, as we did the cold therapy episode a while back, and then somebody's like, so when are you going to do the other side of this? When are you going to talk about the light therapy and more specifically heat? And so we're going to talk about saunas here too, and kind of some of the benefits there as we get into this, because people are using like infrared or red light saunas and with red lights inside the sauna, they're kind of getting the benefits of both. But yeah, so let's go back to the science real quick and kind of where it came from. This stuff goes way back. There's been a lot of research around light therapy. It goes back centuries, but even into the early 1900s, there was quite a bit of studying being done on this stuff and how it helps people and how it could help you. Couple of the benefits would be like what they discovered, and we'll talk about kind of how this works. But like muscle recovery, for physical performance was a big one. They're recognizing that people are recovering faster, like it's delaying soreness or just mitigating it. In a lot of cases, it's helping them get back from measurable performance increases nearly immediately, which was, for anybody out there that's lifting and staying active or is trying to perform, that's one thing. The other thing was skin health, which we already mentioned here. Obviously, huge market there. Oh yeah. And what's going on there? Like, well, with the skin health thing, like what exactly is happening? Maybe it's time to kind of get in the science a little bit, but effectively, like, think about the sun, and maybe people can understand this, but you think about the sun, and it's like this huge ball of energy, right? And it's emitting all kinds of energy off of it, and there are wavelengths of energy that come from the sun or come from lights in general, and those wavelengths at different levels, they literally affect human biology, circadian rhythms, how your body responds hormonally to different things. So when people say like, well, the moon, sun, and stars are aligned, and I felt this way, or I'm in this, there's these points on the earth, they call these, I forget what it's called, it's coming to me, but it's like we're, the spot in Arizona, I want to say Zion. It's not Zion. That's Utah. Sedona. Yeah, it's like a vortex, right? Like people talk about the energies that they feel. Well, and how that impacts their biology or impacts their internal chi or whatever it happens to be. Well, there's some truth in this in terms of how light waves can impact our biology. And so specifically with red lights, and it has to be the right type of red light with the right frequency, actually impacts the mitochondria. It stimulates the mitochondria. And we've talked about mitochondria a little bit before.
The powerhouse of the cell.
Everybody's we're cracking up because everybody that went through like sixth grade,
cellular biology,
ninth grade biology,
sixth, and then had to take it again in the ninth grade or whatever. Like they heard about the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell, and that's where energy, specifically ATP, is created, which is hugely important. And basically it is the currency in which our body runs on at the end of the day from an energy perspective. And so it can help produce more. And that meaning once that's produced and you have more of that floating around your system, it can make all the other cells and all the other metabolic activities that are going on inside of your body that much more efficient and effective. And this is fucking documented. So people are going, whoa, right?
ATP gains.
For sure. So let's go back to the beauty thing. So the skin thing, like if you're doing this for your skincare, your beauty routine, the processes that we were just talking about, part of that is the collagen regeneration process. So it can help not take wrinkles away, but help with the collagen, which was within the skin, right, to fill out the spaces so that you don't look as wrinkled. You don't have the wrinkles. You don't look as wrinkly, if you will, which is really interesting. Same for stretch marks.
Yep, I was going to say scarring.
Yeah, same for like stretch marks. If you've gone through pregnancy or even like puberty, that's a thing where it can help with this. It's regenerating those cells to basically backfill what you did not already have, which is really interesting. The beauty piece is the other part for me is like she'd asked you how long you say she puts this thing on for?
Like 3 minutes. Yeah, I think it's about 3 minutes is what it's supposed to be.
So let me ask you this. So this has been the last couple of months or whatever. Mm-hmm. Does she spend less time and or less money on makeup and the time that she spends putting it on since she started using this?
Maybe, but maybe not for that specific reason. Or maybe for other reasons.
Gotcha.
That she was just spending too much money to begin with. Yeah, as far as
because I've heard this.
she when she first got it, she was like, okay, I have 30 days to try this. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not satisfied, I'm going to return it because it was fairly expensive.
Yep. They're not cheap. They're affordable, but they're not cheap.
She still has it. So I'm guessing she's gotten some result that she's happy with. Is happy with, is satisfied with.
Do you think she's had a result? Just kidding. I was setting you up. Don't answer that. Yeah. Don't answer
Steven,
that.
don't you answer that. We have to stick together on this shit.
I was telling him not to answer.
Don't you dare answer that. The reason I asked that is because I've heard and talked to other people where they have these devices right at home, and you just mentioned one that was actually very directed at their face. They make these red light panels. They can be, any number of sizes. They make full-size panels where you can stand in front of it. So I've heard of people having two, like one for the front, one for the back, so they don't have to rotate.
Stackable as well, I think.
Yeah, you can mount them on walls. They can be freestanding. I've heard people put them in their closets. They put them in their bathrooms. They have them. They can go. They're movable. They're portable, but they have these ones that directly go on your head.
Yeah. It's a mask that it's on there.
There's a company that came out with one that actually, so we go back to like hormonal. I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to that one in a second. But the point of this is what I heard said was I'm now spending less money and less time putting on makeup because I'm now standing in front of this light. So I've made this investment in this thing. I don't feel like I need as much makeup, cover up, filler, whatever the hell ladies call this stuff. I don't have to put that on, but I'm already spending, 15, 20 more minutes. Some ladies are a little bit more high maintenance, I guess, in terms of how long it takes to put on this makeup. I don't have to do that because I now have, I'm getting this benefit.
I think over time that would be the idea, right?
So there's probably a lot of dudes listening to this going, dude, get to the hormone stuff, get to the testosterone stuff. So, okay, so let's move on to the hormone stuff. So huge benefits from a hormone perspective. And I mean, this science is wild with regard to men, particularly an increase in male testosterone with direct application.
Go on.
Yeah, exactly. Direct application of red light to their balls, right? To their testicles. And this is not like woo-woo, like we're just trying to find, the scientific study that proves this has been documented over and over. Like
over 100%.
Over 100% in some cases for some males, depending on in certain studies that they've done. This is not hard information to find. You can go out and find it. It's really easy. So from a hormone perspective, and by the way, so from testosterone, also the balance of estradiol to estrogen for both men and women, very, very important when you look at those components, and more specifically, the production of DHEA, natural production of DHEA, which is the precursor to testosterone. And your sex hormones there. So, as we get older, as we age, and we go through this oxidative stress, and our body's processes start to slow down. We talked about this in the Fitness Over 40 podcast, but your body's production of these precursors will slow down. So thereby, you should expect that your production of the hormone
Sex
that
hormones.
this is the precursor to would be diminished. You can supplement, you can do other things, but red light therapy is a huge alternative to this, specific to, increasing hormone production, particularly like just hormone health in general. So that one's a super interesting one as well. But like, I believe it was, I don't think I'm misspeaking here, up to 200% more in certain males based on their current condition. Like I've
read that too.
So if you're way under and you're up 200%, you're still under. You're still way better than you were at pre 200%. So pre 200% increase, which is interesting. So again, there's these wavelengths and they impact your biology, and it really comes down to how it's impacting the mitochondria within the cell. Which there's when I think about it, there's not another thing out there that could impact that. From like a supplement or exogenous or, like an external therapy to improve that outside of improving your health just in general at all the levels, right? Exercising, managing oxidative stress, managing your, all the let's just say the allostatic stress, your diet, the foods that you eat, staying hydrated, all of these things. I mean, you can get a huge benefit from this red light therapy, which is interesting. So we obviously mentioned the inflammation piece. So if we're increasing the healing pathways, we're increasing these energy pathways, we can increase the healing pathways. So it also increases blood flow and circulation. So as we start to get into the sauna piece, that's a big part of the sauna and the heat. So if you're trying to manage a recovery and or a healing process, going back to the dog with the amputation, red light therapy, again, tons of science around these very specific things, which I find very interesting. I'm kind of going off on this. Have I left stuff out? Like, is there stuff that we got to backfill in?
No, I don't think so. And the other thing about it is it's non-invasive, right? I mean, it might be a little cost prohibitive for some individuals, but I mean, it's a non-invasive therapy.
Yeah, for hundreds of dollars, you could have this stuff in your home and, spend time in front of it and reap these rewards. Now, here's a couple of things about that. Here's one of the things we know is this is not something you just do on occasion. In order to get the benefits of the red light therapy, you need to be doing this very consistently.
On a daily basis.
Yeah, on a daily or multiple days per week basis, because the impacts and the results, the positive impacts that you get sort of build on one another over time. So, you can't just go, I'm going to do this today because I feel shitty and expect to feel better. It doesn't work like that. Doing it once a month, you're probably not going to get any, a whole lot of benefit from that. Maybe you get some acute benefits for a very short period of time, but this is really something you want to stay consistent with. So that was one thing to think about. Other thing to think about is like, again, I just mentioned, like you mentioned the dog, and I mentioned the guy who was trying to heal up that shoulder. There are different types of these lights, and not all of them are created the same. That's the thing. So, you could be purchasing something that isn't that effective, but you could also be purchasing things that maybe have a little bit more strength in terms of the wavelengths that they're putting out, which could be a little bit, for lack of a better term, like more potent, and you need to be careful with this. But that's something to think about. So you mentioned the face one, I mentioned the full body panel. They have things that will sit like over your head and on your head to impact like certain areas on your body. I mentioned that a contraption I saw that was strapped to this guy's shoulder. I didn't see it on anybody else, so I don't know what it would look like if they had to strap to his rib cage or, his hip or some big junction, in his body. Maybe it would have been different. I don't know. But so there's different ways that you can apply this. But most people, going back to the health and beauty side, are looking for, they're either going to get something that very directly impacts whatever part of their body they're trying to impact, that being the face or your hips and thighs. If you've got, if you've got that cellulite, you're trying to, I want to be clear about this. The only way to get rid of cellulite is to lose body fat. Like, that's the only way to do it. However, if you have more collagen in your skin, it looks a little bit smoother, right? You may not see those dimples that the cellulite gives as much if you have that collagen, underneath there. So, but again, you can stand in front of a full panel, and you can do it, by the way. This is not going to this shouldn't hurt your eyes. This is actually their health benefits to.
Yeah, that actually can improve eyesight.
Yeah. So again, just like everything else, this is crazy. I mean, people are going, there's no fucking way.
Sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, it's the way I kind of looked at it too.
Although I will say, because I've been in front of one before, I would not recommend staring directly at it. It is bright as shit, and it will be uncomfortable, but it can have sort of ambient benefits on your eyesight. But I wouldn't like sun gaze at the
It'll catch you off guard when you flip it on for sure.
Yeah,
you turn it on, you're like,
bright.
whoa,
it's pretty bright.
Yeah. Part of this is like going back to like the consistency in which you use it is finding a time where it makes the most sense for you to do it, and the dosages that you get it in. It seems to
going
be
back to also the why you're using it too.
Correct. Right? Yeah. So exactly. Am I using this for hormonal health? Am I using this for my skin? Am I using this for healing or anti-inflammatory properties recovery? It seems the science kind of says that it seems the sweet spot is somewhere between 5 and 20 minutes at a time, at a dose, if you will, depending on what your goal is with this stuff. So thinking about that and fitting it into your lifestyle, like where would this fit in? If you're already doing like a nightly skin routine or hair routine or whatever that you might be doing, maybe that's a good time to do it. But you could literally, so you're throwing this thing on, throw on a podcast, listen to your podcast while you're playing Iron Man with your head or whatever. Maybe that's a thing. Or, answering your emails. You could be sitting in front of the light or working on your computer. I know a guy who sits in front of his desk all day and just has that thing, over his head.
Streaming down. It's
just streaming down over his head.
I wonder, is he doing it half clothed?
No. Just doesn't have a hat on. He's just going on the top of his head. So there's different applications there. But yeah, somewhere between like 5 and 20 minutes seems to be the sweet spot. So if you're trying to get your whole body, yes, you could do this naked, going back to the hormonal health and sunning your nuts. You could do this. Again, do 10 minutes one side and turn 10 minutes the other. You're not laying directly on the light, or you don't have to be like touching the light, but you're in close proximity to it.
I think, some places you go, you're in like a chamber type of thing. It's almost like a tanning
bed.
Like
a pod.
Pod, tanning bed type of structure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, we talk so much on this show about, health just in general, specifically about the, like gut health, nutrition. And there's a ton of research. It's crazy. There's like hundreds of peer-reviewed studies with how this red light therapy is positively impacting the gut biome, the microbiome within the gut. And again, think about this, mitochondria being such an important part of, cell health and cell structure. The healthier those guys are, the healthier everything else could potentially be. So there's been direct studies done around gut health and red light therapy, which that I didn't realize. That just came up in the last couple of days as I was looking into this a little deeper. You can imagine. So as we start to go through, Stephen has talked about, the gut and brain and liver triad. There's even more research on, going back to the guy who sits with it over his desk, the cognitive benefits of red light therapy for brain health, for improved memory, improved mood, improved focus. Like the shit seems too good to be true, but it continues to turn out. The more these studies they do, it continues to turn out some really cool stuff. So red light therapy is something to consider. The other part of this was we were talking about is when you look at some of the research around red light, infrared or near infrared light, which again is a different type of wave. It affects the body a little bit differently in a couple different ways. Is sauna. And then if we're going to talk about that, we talk about like the steam room too, and kind of the compare and contrast there. But I know, Stephen, you're into the saunas or the hot boxes. How does this play in terms of like similar benefits?
Well, everybody always wants to go to everybody always thinks, going to the sauna, I'm going to sweat out my sins and the bullcrap that I eat, and I'm going to detox out,
Detox.
Yeah, I'm going to detox. And, and maybe some of my fat cells will seep out through my sweat. Maybe I'll lose some weight at the same time. I think that's what people kind of think of when they go into a sauna.
Oh, they 100% think that. Yeah.
They're going to sweat their fat out. Yeah. But there is... again, a great deal of research about the benefits of particularly dry saunas. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Nordic cultures, they're like, we've been doing this for, hundreds, if not thousands of
My
years.
ancestors, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
The Vikings were into this
your
stuff.
Swedes, your Norwegians, your Finns.
Look at Native Americans as well. I mean, when you look at the sweat lodges, you go down to South America, Central America, like all over. Like this is centuries, man. Centuries.
Yeah. So, and I think it's basically a form of hormesis, which is an intentional stress that you're putting on your body that has a positive adaptive response or stimulates a positive adaptation. You're basically putting your body into an uncomfortable position and stimulating resilience from your body. So if you're going into a sauna, your heart rate is going to increase, and it can mimic cardiovascular, or it can mimic exercise and its cardiovascular
it's benefits. A vasodilator, right? Yeah, opens up the blood vessels, right?
Yeah, increasing circulation and therefore decreasing blood pressure. I've read some interesting things about your insulin sensitivity and how saunas can improve your insulin sensitivity and your blood sugar. And there is something to be said about the, sweating and detoxing. There are benefits to that as well. You hear about if you're trying to stop smoking, going into a sauna can be beneficial for that withdrawal process. But it's something I've done personally for a long time. I like to do it before workouts just to kind of loosen up. After workouts, stretch in there, just, kind of, loosen yourself up. It's relaxing as well. And yeah, I really enjoy the blood sugar benefits. That's something that is maybe not as obvious to most people.
Your sauna experience, is it infrared, near infrared, or wet?
So I've done
dry?
I have used infrared saunas it's a dry sauna with the infrared light, both with an infrared, a red light tower in it, and then just a sauna that emits the wavelengths, the infrared wavelengths. I've also, just been in your standard gym dry sauna at the, 24-hour fitness or wherever, done that. Steam rooms as well. Although I stopped doing that a while ago, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm not as big of a fan of steam rooms.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
And so it's been, your standard at the gym dry sauna, or I've used the infrared sauna version as well.
So going back to the science, particularly with the saunas, we were just talking about like the history, behind the stuff in the Nordic countries, particularly like Finland has tons and tons, years and years of research surrounding the benefits of using the dry saunas. And specifically, and then, back in the day, it was just hot rocks, and they would manage that by putting some water on the rocks. So it wasn't like a steam room, but there was some element of that to keep the relative heat up as they do this. It's part of the culture, right? And again, we talked
a social.
Yeah. It's a social thing, yeah. It's also a health thing, but there's again, through over the years and through the process of kind of learning about this stuff, they did a ton of research on this. So there is a ton behind the dry sauna stuff. And more recently, you've started to see the stuff with the infrared and red light therapy integrated with the sauna and all the benefits that we've mentioned here. Most importantly, the cardiovascular and brain health or cognitive benefits of being in there. You mentioned, basically the response that the body gives to that heat and that stress. And in there, you're looking at something like, it's like 170 to 200 degrees or something like that is kind of that sweet spot. That's what your general dry sauna is. And that's hot. I mean, if you've ever been in one of those, like it literally opened the door, it's like, it takes your breath away.
It's uncomfortable, yeah.
It's uncomfortable. So if you haven't done this or been in there, things to think about that would be different maybe than red light therapy would be like dehydration, right? Or low blood pressure if you're going in with an already existing condition. Like, is this something that you really want to be doing to yourself without any, maybe previous advice or, checking in with your physician or your practitioner or something about it? I don't know. But the point I was trying to make there is we're moving into the steam room. there's not a lot of research around the steam room.
You don't hear it talked about nearly as much.
Because they don't do that. They don't do that in those countries where all this research has happened. That's a big part of it. It's not that there isn't any. It's just there's not a lot and it's not super conclusive. Now, in terms of benefits from steam room, like similar, right? In terms of getting your heart rate up and increasing the circulation, it can help with let's just say sore joints because it can help lubricate and loosen. Think about this kind of heating up the tissue around there. It can, moisturize the skin to a certain extent, because there is moisture in the air. So if you're looking to kind of rehydrate the skin, that works until it doesn't. There's a point where you can start to,
diminish return.
You get a point of diminishing returns there. That's another one of those things. If you're having congestion, you've got some type of like sinus or upper respiratory thing, it can open up, lubricate,
hydrate,
hydrate,
sinuses,
hydrate those sinuses. I mean, now there's so many, like one of the go-to treatments for a sinus infection or some type of like an upper respiratory thing is a sinus rinse. Mm-hmm. It's been around for a long time, but people are like, before we used to try to dry it out, like with a drug or a nose spray or something else. Now it's like, no, let's keep them, hydrated and healthy. So thinking about cellular health and what your body's trying to do from an immune response perspective in terms of getting stuff out and keeping that stuff moving through. It sounds gross, but yeah. So that was another sort of benefit. Now, difference between the dry and the steam room is significant in terms of heat. Mm-hmm. So we're talking maybe closer to like 120 degrees to maybe a little bit hotter, like 150. I think it goes maybe as much as 160. But obviously, like steam heat is way more intense than dry heat. I mean, the way to think about that is like it's way different. Like go to Arizona in the middle of the summer where it's 120 degrees outside, or go to the Bahamas or Hawaii or something like that, closer to the equator where it's 120 degrees outside and the humidity difference is much, much different. It impacts the body much differently. Now, that said, again, going back to research and what the science says, not a lot of research and quite frankly, not a ton of benefit, not a ton of known proven benefit from the sauna versus the steam room versus the sauna. There are some other downfalls, I think, to the sauna, and we've talked about that before, like
the sauna or the steam room.
Sorry, the steam room.
Yeah.
I worked. Said this before. I worked for a large corporation. We had these things in our clubs. Some of the weirdest, wackiest, grossest shit I've ever seen in my life happens in saunas and steam rooms in public places, right? Public gyms. Just like my faith in humanity is really challenged, in places like that. I had to deal with things, clean up things. I mean, there was one time there were people cooking in the dry sauna in a particular location basically over the heating element in the gym. Yes. This was interesting. Obviously it's a fire hazard. It's disgusting. But they were in there, sitting in there. This was a particular world culture that happened to be in this particular steam or dry sauna together, and they were cooking on the heating element. I'm not even going to get into what I've seen in steam rooms. But that said, what I would say I see in steam rooms that is unavoidable based on the temperature and the moisture that's being brought into the environment.
Oh, I can only imagine.
It's a literal Petri dish, right? Think about bacteria and bacterial overgrowth,
You're
fungus.
Supposed to shower before you get into those things.
Yeah, come on, man. Like even with the best intentions, shit's getting tracked in and whatever else. So I don't like saunas I keep saying that. I don't like steam rooms, period, because of the potential health impacts there on the negative from just straight up infection. Like that is it is literally a living Petri dish for all the bad things that are out there. I mean, think about it.
Bacteria loves heat.
Bacteria,
and
fungus,
moisture.
virus,
exactly.
Whatever, just easily exchanged versus in the other environment, that dry sauna, not tolerant to that at all. So you are, generally speaking, going to be much safer in a situation like that. Again, as so long as it's kept clean and the people coming in are doing a good job of keeping it clean. But those steam rooms are a little
And then
wacky.
twofold, the infrared saunas. So my understanding with the infrared saunas is that the heat there is even less than a dry sauna. So it could be anywhere between like 107 to maybe like the lower teens of the hundreds.
Something to consider.
Yeah, the one that I used was like 145. Was where it was. Yeah, it was where it was set.
Yeah, because you're getting the heat from the sauna, but you're also getting the heat from and the intensity of the wavelength from the red light. And from the infrared. And so that compounds. And so while you're getting benefit, it's a little bit more, and it's a little bit more intense going back to the, what can grow and what can live. I'm no epidemiologist on that kind of stuff and what bacteriologist, I guess. I had to take it in college. I hated it. But, again, like there's things there. Obviously, if you have access to it at home or, in a private facility or something that's really well kept, that's not something I worry about. But certainly if you're going to like a bigger gym or your bigger facility where they have a steam room, my advice is stay the fuck out of there. No matter how good they try to keep it, I just wouldn't go near it. I've just seen too many things. There's other parts to the steam room too, we were talking about before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always thinking about, okay, it's hot in there, it's moist, your pores are opening, and your pores are porous. It's not a barrier that things cannot get through. So you are in a steam room. Obviously, this is not some type of purified water that's being used to create the steam. It's just tap water. So you're essentially absorbing whatever is in the tap water through your skin, or at least in theory. I don't know if that is actually 100% factual, but it seems to make logical sense, at least, that I'm absorbing anything that is in that steam through my skin, which whatever is in your local tap water.
Right. That's we talked about environmental factors earlier and previously in terms of hormonal health and how they impact deodorants, lotions, things like that. If people are walking in with these things into these particular facilities and got your open pores and you don't want that stuff on there, look, there's all kinds of things people rub on their bodies, right? They rub exogenous hormones on their body. There's testosterone cream. There's estrogen creams that get rubbed on there. So when you're going into these facilities and you're now opening up your pores, it's a permeable membrane, right? I mean, that person is rubbing it on themselves for whatever their medical reason is, and it's being absorbed that way. You walk into these things and you sit down in them. Again, this is not a hygiene, personal hygiene podcast, but the point of this is things to think about when you go in there and what you're exposing yourself to. So, but that doesn't take away, again, I just want to reiterate the positive benefits coming from red light therapy specifically, and even the combination of that and dry sauna with regard to all the things we talked about: skin health, heart health, respiratory health, cognitive health, digestive or gut health, anti-inflammatory response, all of that kind of stuff. So, again, in terms of the devices, they matter. There are companies out there. We don't get paid by any of those companies, so I'm not going to mention any of them here. But if you get online and you're looking around, I would caution you, don't go to fucking Amazon to buy your red light.
Do your research.
Do your research. For hundreds of dollars, you can get into this, but obviously sky's the limit in terms of how much you want to pay and what your use case is. So yeah, huge advocate for red light therapy, and for dry saunas. If we had both at the gym, I would be in there. I'd be in there daily. I've even considered, Cece, we're kind of talking about this the other day, potentially purchasing a red light panel for the use of our members here and obviously ourselves, because we have some space to put it. But yeah. So,
that shower room that never gets used.
Yeah, there's a couple of showers back there and only one of them's ever used, so we could throw it in there. But anyway, yeah, good talk. So I encourage people, hey, if you have questions, I would too. Like, I'd be really skeptical, because I was. So I promise you, if you go out and just do a little research, there's literally thousands of research documents on this stuff. Obviously,
some lose time as far as reading about it. Some
are going to be better than others, but it won't take you long to find some good studies, even as a person that doesn't read this stuff, to get into it and basically corroborate what we've told you today. So get out there, be healthier, use red lights to do that.